So the next heterocycle that is your imidazole. What is imidazole? So it's a 5-membered heterocyclic ring. Imidazole. It's a diazole means it is 5-membered heterocyclic ring containing 2 nitrogens. Containing diaza means 2 nitrogen, a 5-membered ring at 1 and 3 position. So your nitrogen is at 1 and 3 position, and the nitrogen at the first position is saturated, and the nitrogen at the third position is your unsaturated. Similar to pyrazole, pyrazole is 1,2, imidazole is 1,3 diazole. Okay, that the difference between pyrazole and imidazole is pyrazole is 1,2 diazole and imidazole is 1,3 diazole. Its formula is C3H4N2. Yeah, this is so imidazole. It's a 5-membered chemical formula C3H4N2, molecular mass 68, appearance white, pale solid, density 1.23, melting point 89 to 91, boiling point around 250. Why boiling point high? Because of the intermolecular hydrogen solubility in water, because it is polar. Because of this hydrogen there is solvation that will take place. That's why it is soluble in water. So this is the resonance structure, very important. This is the resonance structure of your imidazole. This comes for 2 marks in your exam. Okay, you have to see how the bonds are moving. The bonds are, if you see the first nitrogen, that is on the topmost, okay, topmost left, okay, the nitrogen, first thing, the nitrogen from your lone pair, from your saturated nitrogen comes to the ring, okay, comes to the ring, okay. Then again then what happens? The lone pair then comes, you go towards the right. The lone pair of electrons come from the nitrogen, third nitrogen, to the between your third and the fourth carbon. Okay, so this is why you have to rotate. See the charge. See the charge on the nitrogen. The aliphatic nitrogen will always have a positive charge. Will have a positive, and the negative charge keeps on revolving around the imidazole. And if you see, there is electron density more at the third, fourth and second. But in second position, the reactions are not favorable because of the 2 nitrogens next to each other. Okay, so this is the resonance structure of your imidazole. Very important. You have to know how the electrons move. How the electrons move. It starts from the aliphatic nitrogen, it goes around. Okay, goes to the third, again between 3 and 4. The electrons keep on moving between the second, third, fourth and fifth elements in the ring. Okay, this is the resonance structure of your imidazole. Now let's go for the aromaticity. So in case of aromaticity, now look at the structure. Now look at the structure of imidazole. So it has got 2 nitrogens. It has got 2 nitrogen. One of the nitrogen behaves as a pyridine, where the lone pair of electrons are not in conjugation for your aromatic. Whereas the aliphatic nitrogen acts as an pyrrole, where the lone pair of electrons of your imidazole is involved in your aromaticity. It's involved in your aromaticity. So this is how your lone pair of electrons of your NH, that is saturated nitrogen, is involved in your aromatic, that is your lone pair electrons, the unhybridized p orbitals that will get conjugated with your other electrons. Okay, and one sp2 hybridized orbital of your nitrogen, that is your unsaturated nitrogen, the sp2 hybridized orbital will be involved, of your nitrogen will be involved in your aromatizations. So this is how the electrons revolve around the imidazole ring. Very important. So let's go for the aromaticity. So imidazole has got how many? 3 carbons, 2 nitrogen, all are sp2. The first criteria is fulfilled, that they are sp2 hybridized. I have sp2. Second is sp2 hybrid are planar in nature. Okay, it makes the sp2 hybridas are planar in nature. This makes the planar imidazole ring. The second criteria is that they are planar. Then next is each ring atom contains unhybridized p orbital that is perpendicular to the plane of this sigma bond. Okay, this is all the p orbital, unhybridized p orbitals are perpendicular to the plane of your sigma bond. Next is the p orbitals are parallel to, if you see the structure, if you see it, all are parallel to each other. Okay, and so overlap between the p orbital is possible. So this criteria also is this thing, there is a conjugation. Okay, then total number of non-bonding electrons are 6. 3 comes from carbon, 1 comes from nitrogen, and 2 comes from the nitrogen which is saturated. Okay, so this is how your Huckel's rule is fulfilled. Conjugated, planar, parallel, the p orbitals are parallel. All these criteria are fulfilled. That's why imidazole is aromatic in nature. That's why imidazole is aromatic in nature, not tautomerism. You have seen it even in pyrazole. Okay, there is tautomerism. So see the position, what happens? You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 methyl. Okay, if you see the another structure, when there is a resonance, okay, there will be a change in position. So there will be an equilibrium between 3, 5, 4 and 5 imidazole, because the nitrogen at the first position is saturated. It might go to the third position. When it goes to the third position, it becomes 5. Your substitution becomes 5. So the substitution at the fourth and the fifth, they keep on tautomerizing between the two isoforms. Okay, so that is why tautomerism takes place, because the hydrogen gets moved between their two nitrogen. So the position keeps on changing. Hydrogen bonding is there because of your nitrogen, lone pair electron is there, as well as hydrogen. So they can form an hydrogen bond, and because of this hydrogen bonding, the boiling point is always high of your imidazole. Okay, now let's go for the synthesis. Of imidazole. Now look at the synthesis. In case of pyrazole, it was 1,3-dicarbon. In case of imidazole, it is 1,2-diazole. It is 1,2-dicarbonyl compound. That is dicarbonyl compound at 1 and 2 adjacent carbon. Okay, this reacts with amine to form diimine. That is your first step. That is condensation between dicarbonyl and ammonia is the first. Now this diimine that is formed will react with an aldehyde. It undergoes a condensation reaction with an aldehyde to give you an imidazole. So it's a two-step reaction. First step is formation of an diimine. How it will form? The dicarbonyl compound, 1,2-dicarbonyl compound will react with ammonia to form diamine. This diamine that is formed will react with the aldehyde which is present to give you the condensed product, that is your imidazole. So it's a two-step. What is the first step? First step is your diamine formation. Second step is that diamine which is formed will react with an aldehyde. It will condense with an aldehyde to give you your substituted imidazole. This is Radziszewski's imidazole synthesis, where you take a dicarbonyl compound, you get an ammonia to give you a diamine. This then condenses with an aldehyde to give you an corresponding imidazole. That is the first method for synthesis of imidazole. That's the first method for the synthesis of imidazole. So this is another examples how it can be treated. Your amine treating with this thing. This is with an example. You treat it with an aldehyde. You get a corresponding imidazole, substituted imidazole. Now, when you treat an alpha halocarbonyl compound, you treat an alpha halocarbonyl compound with an amidine. Amidine means NH2C double bond NH. That is known as amidine. And if there is one more NH2, it is known as guanidine. So if there are two nitrogens in an tautomeric form, then that is double bond and NH2. That is known as amidine. So when you treat an alpha haloketone with an amidine, it condenses to give you an substituted imidazole. Similarly, an alpha hydroxy ketone also will react with an amidine with the loss of water molecule to give you an substituted benzene. This is the second alpha halo and alpha hydroxy ketones. Okay, will react with amidine. What is amidine? NH2C double bond N R. If that R is substituted by NH2, then it becomes an guanidine. So that's the difference between amidine and guanidine. Okay, so NH2C double bond NH. Okay, that is known as amidine. So when it condenses with each other with an alpha haloketone or an alpha hydroxy ketone, you get your corresponding imidazole. You get your corresponding. So there should be one carbon in between the two nitrogens in case of your imidazole, whereas in case of pyrazole, you have the two nitrogens adjacent to each other. In case of imidazole, there should be one carbon in between the two nitrogen. This is how you have to remember the two synthesis. Okay, there is one carbon in between the two nitrogen. That is the second method. You take an alpha halocarbonate. So this is a reaction. This is just you take phenacyl bromide. Okay, you treat it with an amidine. That is your phenyl and amidine. You get your corresponding phenyl substituted imidazole. Okay, at the second position. Now the third is you do a dehydrogenation of imidazole. You do a dehydrogenation of imidazole. So what is this? How do you prepare an imidazole? You take an diamine. You take a 1,2-diamine. That is ethylene diamine. You treat it with an nitrile. That is a CN, RCN, any alkyl cyanide or aryl cyanide, anything you treat. You condense it. You treat ethylene diamine with a nitrile. That is any acetonitrile, anything. It undergoes condensation with the loss of ammonia to give you an imidazolidine. What is this imidazolidine? It is, there is an saturation between one carbon. Okay, that when you treat it with an barium magnesium oxide, you treat it with barium magnesium oxide, it undergoes dehydrogenation. Dehydrogenation means oxidation to give you a corresponding imidazole. Give you a corresponding imidazole. So this is how you prepare your imidazole from your diethylamine, 1,2-diamine. You treat it with acetonitrile, you get an imidazole condensation. That when you treat it with barium magnesium oxide, barium magnet, that is an oxidation agent, it undergoes dehydrogenation to give you a corresponding imidazole. That is the third method for the synthesis of imidazole. Okay. The fourth method is when you take, so this is the method for preparation of benzimidazole. Benzimidazole is a derivative of imidazole, okay, which is commonly used in various synthetic processes. So how do you take? You take orthophenylene diamine, that is 1,2-diaminobenzene. You treat it with any carboxylic acid, formic acid, acetic acid. It undergoes, when you heat it, it undergoes condensation reaction to give you your two substituted benzimidazole. This is the method for the preparation of benzimidazole. So these are the methods for synthesis of imidazole. Now let's go for the reactions. So what is the first reaction? Electrophilic addition reaction. Why it can undergo electrophilic substitution reaction? Because it has got lone pair, because it has got two nitrogen, one acts as pyridine. So if one acts as pyridine means it has got lone pair of electron which can accept a proton, from the solvents, okay, base, to give you a corresponding imidazolidium cation. To give you a corresponding imidazolium, please mute yourself. To give you a corresponding imidazolium cation. Okay, first is what? It reacts with an acid to form corresponding imidazolium cation. That's why it is basic in nature, because it has got a pyridine like nitrogen. That's why it acts as a base. Now this is your, as similarly it can react with your Grignard reaction to form a metal cation. Metal imidazolium magnesium chloride will be formed. Okay, now there is some difference. You have seen in pyrazole also there are two nitrogens. So how an alkylation will take place? How an alkylation will take place? So your imidazole reacts with your methyl iodide to form imidazolidium and methyl imidazolium salt. Now there is one more nitrogen. There is one more nitrogen. Okay. Now the imidazole itself is a base, so it will abstract the proton from the from your second saturated, and this will undergo your methylation to give N1 N3 dimethyl imidazolium salt, similar to that of your pyrazole. So when it undergoes alkylation, electrophilic addition on the nitrogen, whenever alkylation takes place, you get N-methyl N1 N3 dimethyl imidazolium salt. Okay, it undergoes N1 N3 dimethyl imidazolium salt. So first your imidazolium salt will be formed, then the unreacted imidazole will abstract the proton from your saturated nitrogen, and your alkylation will take place. So this is how you get an alkyl N1 N3 dimethyl or an alkylated dimethyl ammonia diazolium imidazolium salt. So this is your electrophilic addition reaction. It undergoes quaternization. Okay, alkylation of has been achieved by heating your 1-carbo-ethoxy imidazole obtained by reacting imidazole with ethyl chloroformate. When you heat it, so you can do the alkylation with another way. You treat it ethyl chloroformate, you heat it. This is followed by decarboxylation. Once it undergoes decarboxylation, you get an alkyl substituted imidazole. Okay, an alkyl substituted. So this is the two ways for the synthesis of your an alkyl imidazole. If you just want an alkyl imidazole, you can prepare it by this way. Now electrophilic substitution reaction. Now electrophilic, if you see in this particular reaction, which all position is more favorable? Okay, why the electrophilic substitution is more favored at 3 and 4? Why? So if you see over here, if the electrophilic substitution reaction takes place preferably at 4 and 5, not at 3. Why? If you see at 2 position, your nitrogen gets the positive charge. Immediately, in both the cases. Whereas in 4 and 5, only one of the nitrogen gets positively charged. As we explained in the pyrazole, same. So that will that will destabilize your resonance structure. That's why your electrophilic substitution is more favored. Electrophilic substitution reaction is more favored at the 4th and the 5th position. So you see, highly unstable N plus positive ion is formed in case of C2 addition, whereas in case of 4 and 5 substitution, the possibility only one nitrogen gets positively charged. That's the reason why your electrophilic substitution reaction is favored on the 3rd, on the 4th and the 5th carbon. So let's take the example of nitration. You get 4 or 5 nitro imidazole depending upon the resonance. You get imidazole 4-5. Why it is given in 4-5 bracket? Because there is a resonance between the two. There is a tautomerism between the two nitrogen. That's why it is given 4,5 sulfonic acid. So at the 4th position, it undergoes sulfonation nitration. So bromination, bromination. If you treat it with bromine in acetic acid, it undergoes at all the 3 positions. This one, when it is treated with sodium sulfite, it undergoes reduction to give you only 4-bromo 1H imidazole. So this is your halogenation. Halogenation takes place at all the position. If you want to get 4, then you have to further treat it with aqueous sodium sulfite. You get your corresponding 4-bromo imidazole. So nucleophilic reaction, 1,3-diazoles do not react with nucleophile because everything has negative charge. If you see in the resonance structure of imidazole, all the position have got negative charge. So your electrophilic substitution does not take place in this thing. First of all, you have to convert into an salt, then treat it with your base. But in this case, what happens when you do, the ring breaks open. So when you try to do an nucleophilic substitution reaction, the ring opening occurs. Quaternary salt decomposes to give you a primary amine, and you get your substituted benzyl imidazole. It cleaves to give you 1,2-dibenzoimidazole ethane. So it undergoes ring fission. So it will not favor imidazole. If you see the resonance structure, you see electron density at 2nd, 4th and 5th. So there is all position it has got your electrons. So that's why an electrophilic substitution is not favored in case of imidazole. It does not undergo, imidazole does not undergo your nucleophilic substitution reaction. Moreover, it catalyzes this imidazole can catalyze various your acylation reaction. It will catalyze various acylation reaction. It is used as a catalyst in various acylation reaction. It is used as an intermediate which will promote the rate of reaction, acylation reaction. It is used as a catalyst. Now, cycloaddition reaction. What is this cycloaddition reaction? The position between 4 and 5, because it is electron rich, so it will react with an benzophenone or acrylonitrile. It undergoes an cyclization reaction to give you a fused product. There will be a cyclization. This reaction takes place through a free radical mechanism. This reaction takes place through a free radical reaction where the electrons flows between the two systems and you get a fused ring. Cycloaddition reaction takes place. So this is an example of this is a free radical reaction. It is used in many of your compounds. Your antifungal agent contains an imidazole ring. That is necessary for the antihistaminic, antiprotozoal, metronidazole. In case of stomach infection, you take metronidazole. It is nothing but a nitroimidazole derivative which contains an ethanol linkage attached to your aliphatic nitrogen. It contains an ethanol to the aliphatic nitrogen with a nitromethyl imidazole derivative. That is your metronidazole, which is used in the treatment of amoebic dysentery. Now the next heterocycle is oxazole. Oxa, why? Oxygen has got the first priority. That's why it is written first. Aza is given, the nitrogen is given the second priority. That's why it is known as oxazole. Zole means 5-membered ring. It is a 5-membered ring containing oxygen and nitrogen. Oxazole is a 5-membered ring containing an oxygen and nitrogen at 1 and 3. Oxygen is at 1 because it has got first priority, and nitrogen at the third position. Okay, it has got nitrogen at the third position, and your nitrogen and oxygen are separated by a single carbon. That is known as oxazole. Okay, oxazole because it contains oxygen and nitrogen in the ring. Oxazoles are aromatic but less compared to your thiazole. Why it is less aromatic? Because of the oxygen. Oxygen being electronegative, it will destabilize the structure. That's why they are, as we studied earlier also. Why thiophene is more aromatic than, because here your electronegativity plays an important role. It is also known as 1,3-oxazole. It's slightly basic in nature. Formula C3H3NO. C3H3NO. Aromaticity. So in this case, similarly, here there is no saturated nitrogen, nothing. Here, one of the nitrogen acts as a pyridine, where it gives away one of the electrons, sp2, and your oxygen supplies the 2 electrons. The oxygen supplies the 2 electrons which are necessary. The lone pair of electrons, 2 lone pair of electrons present in the oxygen will give you the two lone pair of electrons which is necessary for your formation of your Huckel's rule. Okay, all it is planar, sp2 hybridized, everything is same. Okay, the p orbitals are in this are perpendicular, unhybridized p orbitals are perpendicular to the plane. The 3 carbons give 1 electron each. Nitrogen gives 1 electron from its sp2, and the 2 lone pair of electrons from your oxygens are given to form the Huckel's rule. However, oxygen is slightly electronegative, so delocalization is not very effective. Because of this, oxygen being electronegative will pull the electrons, so the delocalization is not that effective. Why? Because oxygen pulls the electrons towards itself. So your delocalization is not that much strong in case of your oxazole. Because of your oxygen, presence of the oxygen, that's why it is less aromatic compared to your imidazole and pyrazole. Now let's go for the synthesis of oxazole. Oxazole. Now let's go. What is the first? You take acetamide, that is CH3C double bond O and H2. You treat it with bromoacetone. You take an acetone which is bromo substituted. It undergoes condensation reaction to give you your 2,4-dimethyl oxazole. It undergoes condensation to give you 2,5-dimethyl oxazole. So this reaction takes place in presence of an base. The second reaction is what? You take alpha oxymoketone. You see an alpha oxygen, at the alpha position there is an oxime. Alpha to your carbonyl group ketone, there is an oxime group, that is C double bond NOH, that is your oxime. So that is alpha oxyminoketone group is present. That you treat it with zinc, acetic acid and anhydride. It undergoes reduction followed by an acetate formation. And this, when you treat it with acid, it undergoes your condensation reaction, cyclization followed by condensation reaction to give you a corresponding 2-methyl 5-phenyl oxazole. So these are the two methods. Next is Fischer's oxazole synthesis. What is this Fischer's oxazole synthesis? You take an cyanohydrine. What is cyanohydrine? It contains an CN group and an OH. You treat it with an aldehyde in presence of an anhydrous acid. That means there should be no water in that. It undergoes condensation. The reaction is in ether. That means there should be no water in that. It should be in an anhydrous condition. There should be no moisture. It undergoes condensation. To give you an 2,5 substituted oxazole. Okay, what is the reagent? You take an cyanohydrine. What is cyanohydrine? It contains an OH and an cyano group. That is known as cyanohydrine. So that when you treat it with an aldehyde, it undergoes condensation to give you a oxazole. Next method is you treat an alpha acyl aminopropanol. What is alpha acyl amino? There is an acyl amino, that is to the propyl. Propanone is what? It is an acetone only. It is acetone which contains an N-acyl amino group. N-acyl amino group at the first position. Okay. It undergoes condensation in presence of H2SO4 to give you an corresponding 2,5-dimethyl oxazole. So this is your fourth method for the synthesis of your oxazole. Next is your Brederic's synthesis. Where you take an alpha haloketone. You treat it with an Formamide. That is, formamide is NC double bond O NH2. You treat it, it undergoes condensation reaction to give you an substituted oxazole. To give you an, it is first you see, your in acidic medium, what your ketone, your alpha haloketones gets protonated, your nitrogen amide from your lone pair attacks on your carbonyl carbon, loss of water, you get an unsaturated. Again, what happens? Your oxygen attacks on your alpha halo compound. There is a loss of your halogen. Then again there is an loss of proton to undergo it to get an aromatization, and you get an substituted oxazole. So this is your Bredrick's synthesis of oxazole. Now the reactions. Now the reactions of your oxazole. Now what does this case? In this case, your nitrogen acts as a base, so it will get protonated by an oxygen by an acid to form oxonium cation. It undergoes this thing protonation by an acid to form oxonium anion, which can tautomerize between oxygen and your nitrogen. Electrophilic substitution at carbon C. Electrophilic substitution at your, so when there is an, these are less reactive. Why? Because it is less reactive, because the oxygen pulls the electron towards itself. So as you've seen, there will be anything containing oxygen will be less reactive due to the presence of oxygen. So the presence of electron, the reaction is possible at the fifth position, which is activated by an, if there is an electron donating group. If there is an electron donating group, then only the reaction will take. Like you got an methyl phenyl group which are electron donating. If there is an electron donating group at the second position, okay, then the reaction will. Otherwise, there is no possibility because of the oxygen. The electron density is less, so these are less reactive than other compounds. Only when there is an electron donating group at the second position, then only it will favor your reaction, electrophilic substitution reaction. Okay, it should contain an electron donating group at the second position, then only it will favor your substitution reaction at the fifth position. Reduction in presence of ethanol, you get 2,5-dihydroxazole, and in cases of platinum you get your completely saturated ring, that is oxazole leading ring. Okay, in ethanol, sodium ethanol, you get only 2,5-dihydroxazole, whereas in case of platinum oxide and hydrogen, you get your completely saturated ring. Under oxazole is unstable for oxidation, it will break open, ring opening will occur, similar to that of imidazole. It is not that stable, so it will undergo ring breaking. Medicinal uses, it is used as an antifungal, benzoxazole, and also oxazepam, that is an non-steroidal oxaprozin, which is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agent. It contains oxazole. What is this? 2-benzene ring, and at the second position it has an propionic acid. Oxazole ring containing an propionic acid at the second position, and 2-phenyl ring at the fourth and the fifth position. That is oxaprozin. That is an anti-inflammatory agent. So next class of drug is thiazole. Let's complete all the three 5-membered ring. Okay. Next class of drug is thiazole. Next class of drug is thiazole. Now what is thiazole? Similar to that of your oxazole. 1,3 position. Why it's called thia? Because oxygen, sulfur, nitrogen. So sulfur is given priority over nitrogen. That's why it comes before. So thiazole, your sulfur is given 1 priority, and your nitrogen is given the second. That's why it is known as 1,3 thiazole, depending upon the position of your heteroatoms in the ring. It is a 5-membered ring. Molecular formula C3H3NS. This is present in thiamine B1. It is a part of your B1 vitamin. It's a part of your B1 vitamin. Aromatic is similar to that of other, but it is more aromatic than your oxazole because sulfur is less electronegative and it donates your electrons more, because that's why it is more aromatic compared to that of your oxazole. Rest all things are similar to that of they're planar, conjugated. Your sulfur donates the lone pair to form your Huckel's rule, 6 electron non-bonding electrons. So that's about your aromaticity of your thiazole. Synthesis. Let's go for the synthesis. So what is the first? Gabriel synthesis. So what is Gabriel synthesis? It's a condensation of acyl amino carbonyl compound. What do you mean by acyl amino carbonyl compound? You get an acyl group, that is C double bond O, which is connected to an amino group. Okay, acyl amino carbon. When you treat it with phosphorus pentoxide, one of your oxygen gets replaced by a sulfur, which is shown in your red, and that undergoes nucleophilic attack on your carbonyl carbon, second carbonyl carbon, to give your corresponding thiazole. That's the first method. Next is Hans thiazole synthesis. Here also, if you see alpha halo carbonyl compound, you treat it with thiamide. That was formamide. This is thiamide. It undergoes cyclization to give you a corresponding thiazole, similar to that of your oxazole, where you take a formamide, here you take a thiamide. So that is your Hans thiazole synthesis. So if you see, synthesis also are same, only thing your reagents differ. Only one sulfur is replaced by your oxygen in case of oxazole. That's the synthesis is same. Next is you take chloroacetaldehyde. You take chloroacetaldehyde, you treat it with thiourea, you get an 2-amino thiazole, and this 2-amino thiazole is also very important reagent. This, when you convert it into diazotization, your nitrogen, and you treat it with ethanol, you heat it with ethanol, you get your corresponding thiazole. So this is one of the way for the preparation of your thiazole. Okay. Now let's go for the reaction similar to that of your oxazole. It undergoes alkali protonation at nitrogen. It undergoes N-methyl thiazolium salt is formed when you treat it with your aqueous ammonium. You treat it with alkyl halide, and in aqueous acid you get your corresponding N-methyl thiazolium salt, similar to that of your oxazole ring. Favored position, similarly it is at the 4th and 5th with an electron donating group at the 2nd position, then only it will undergo your substitution reaction. But here it you get a nitration, but in a milder condition. Okay, when you treat it with an acid, okay, you get basically an amino-thiazole. When 2 amino thiazoles, when you treat it with an bromine in acetic acid, it undergoes bromination. Similarly, your nitration also will take place. Sulfonation, oleum in presence of magnesium. It is highly unstable, which requires drastic condition for your sulfonation. Your halogenation also takes place in presence of an electron donating group at the 2nd position. Then only it undergoes halogenation. Then it is resistant to reduction. As you see, even in that also thiazole, ring opening will take place and you get an cleavage. Your ring will break to give you an straight chain compound. Rather than a reduced product, you get ring breaking will take place and you get a straight chain compound, saturated aliphatic ring. Instead of an aromatic, you get an alicyclic, you get an straight chain, okay, aliphatic ring, okay, aliphatic compound in case of reduction. And there is your sulfur is removed. Bromination, as we said, according to the presence, it will take place at the, depending upon the electron withdrawing donating group at the 2nd position, it will undergo bromination at the 5th position or the 4th position. Okay. So these are some of the drugs which contains thiazole ring are sulfathiazole, which is an sulfonamide, vitamin B12, which contains pyrimidine, connected to your thiazole by an methylene group, that is CS2OH. Okay. thiabendazole. Thiabendazole is an anthelmintic. So it is a thiazole ring which is connected to a benzimidazole ring. So these are the drugs which contains thiazole groups. Okay, these are the drugs which contains thiazole groups.